Hello, today's video is not about log sport, but instead about 3D printing. So I have a problem with my printer, actually with my current spool of yellow, and that sometimes the printer doesn't pull the material fast enough, and then there are gaps in the print. So what happens is if you have a gap, then it weakens the point of the gap and then the material breaks. So then I thought I don't have a heat gun, probably need to buy one, but I thought that I might be able to solder with just a regular soldering iron. So this is a 40-watt soldering iron, like the cheapest one in existence, and I thought I could use this soldering iron to connect two broken pieces together. And I had some good experience with that and some bad experiences with that. So I decided to make a video showing what can be done. I printed a bunch of 2x2 squares like this, and some of the squares have a little ledge. Here you can see the ledge here on them, and what I'm going to try to do is to connect a bunch of pairs of these squares with the soldering iron. So let me heat it up and we'll see various methods of connecting the bits. So it's not the first time I'm doing this, but it's maybe the third time. So we'll be learning together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to try is just take two pieces, put them one on top of the other and just solder them directly without soldering my finger. So this heats up to about 300 degrees, and the PLA melting temperature is around 200 degrees. So this is much hotter than needed, but you know, we have what we have. Okay, so this worked. This worked really well. This is very strong, and this is basically the same thing that the printer does. And I don't know if you can see the seam. It's not very noticeable. Okay, let's try something else. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to try is to take two pieces, stick them together and solder the connection point and see if they're properly joined. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so these two pieces are now completely joined, and I could do the other end, and they would be just as one piece. So this also worked well. Now I printed some pieces with the little ledge, and this is so that I have soldering material. So I'll try to put two pieces together and then smear this ledge onto the other piece and see what happens. So let's clamp. This is a regular piece. Let's clamp it up. Now I'm taking the piece with the little ledge and I'll try to smear off the ledge onto the other piece. Let's see if this is any better. So I'm using the extra material as soldering solution. I don't know what the English name for it. Okay, so this time the seam is much more visible. I can probably fix, but this is very strong. I'm pulling it firmly, and they won't separate the two pieces. So now I printed this part, which should be like a soldering
A few moments later.
okay, soldering flux. So now let's take two pieces. So I wish I had something to hold it with. Do something like this. Okay, so I have two pieces one next to each other, and I'll try to solder this connection point by taking material off of here and soldering between the two pieces. Okay, so as you can see, there is So because the pieces are very thin, and there is some deformation here, but as you can see, this works, that the pieces are joined together pretty well. Now let's try to do the same, but with pieces with the ledge. So I'll take two pieces with the ledge, and I'll solder over the ledges. So I'll put them together like this with the ledges facing each other, and just go over the ledges. Okay, so this is the part that I soldered, and so just remember it's very hard to do it through the camera, but as you can see, the pieces are joined together, together well, and the part so this worked well because I didn't have to use the third piece with the extra PLA, and I can probably fix the seam here even better if I'm not doing this with the camera and at a weird angle. So as you can see, the connection here is much better than in the previous example. So I think this is it. So I'll turn everything off and do a short outro clip. Okay, so let's just go over all the pieces that I soldered. And I think the conclusion here is that it is very easy to do it with the soldering iron and PLA. So this is the piece that was joined together on the seam, and this is a perfect join. As you can see, you can't even tell that it was joined here with a soldering iron. So this is the, you can split it right now. Here, this is the piece that I soldered over the seam. So this is the one that I did without any extra PLA for soldering, and this also came out well, but as long as it has some angle which I can melt and create a new seam. This one had a ledge, and this didn't come out well. I melted the ledge off, but it created a very ugly connection. So probably this is not the best idea. Then we had the pieces that were joined side by side. This one with the extra soldering, and this particular instance didn't come out well because it was very hard to do it through the camera, but I think this is not very bad. You can probably clean it out, and it will not be visible. And finally, the one with the two ledges. As you can see here, there are places where it is really well, and places where it is less well. But again, here I had the ledges, the ledges on both of the pieces, and I just soldered the ledges onto each other. They simply melted to create the seam. And again, this is, you can clean it and it will be okay. So final conclusion, yes, use a soldering iron, the standard 300 degrees soldering iron to join PLA pieces together. It works. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.